What happens when a company becomes too focused on moving fast? What happens when a competition starts driving major decisions? And what happens when engineering takes a backseat? Boeing learned the answers the hard way, and the consequences were felt around the world. Hi, I'm Shruti. Welcome to One Company, One Story. This podcast is about one company, decision taken by that company, and a lesson to be learned. Also, this podcast is based on publicly available information and is intended for educational purposes only. So before we begin, don't forget to follow our One Company, One Story Instagram page for updates, behind the scenes content, and episode highlights. You can also now listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube Music. Also, let me know if I have to launch my podcast on any other platforms, which will be easy for you guys to listen. Just search for One Company and One Story and join us there. With that said, let's get into today's episode. So, for the most of the 20th century, Boeing was known for one thing, which is engineering excellence. It was founded in the year 1916 by William Boeing. Boeing grew into one of the world's largest aerospace companies, building commercial aircrafts, military jets, satellites, and spacecraft. So if you flew on a plane, there was a good chance it was Boeing. The company's culture was pretty simple. Build safe aeroplanes first. The profits will follow. And for decades, that philosophy worked. Everything started changing in the late 1990s. In 1997, Boeing merged with McDonnell Douglas, which is another aerospace company. So the many observers believe that this merger would bring a cultural shift. Instead of the engineer driving decision, which was before, the financial managers started gaining more influence. That is, their focus gradually moved from engineering excellence to efficiency, cost reduction, and shareholders' returns. At first, nobody noticed. Planes still flew, the companies still made money, but the priorities were changing. Then came Airbus. The European manufacturer Airbus launched the A320neo, a fuel-efficient aircraft that airlines loved. Boeing suddenly faced pressure. It needed a competitor quickly. Building a completely new aircraft would take years and cost billions. So what did they do? They chose a faster option. So instead of designing a new airplane from scratch, it upgraded its existing 737 model and created the Boeing 737 MAX. This decision saved time and money. But it also created challenges. The large engines changed somehow the aircraft behavior during flight. So in order to compensate, they introduced a software system called MACAS, which is MCAS. So what's the problem over here? Many pilots weren't fully informed about the system. The additional simulator training could have increased cost and slowed the airline adoption. So the company emphasized that the pilots could transition easily from the older 737 aircraft. Then the tragedy struck. In 2018, the Lion Air Flight 610 crashed.
In 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 took off from Jakarta, but for some reason, the plane's nose kept dipping during the ascent.
But soon after take right, and that caused the crash.
5 months later, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed.
The aircraft was a brand new Boeing 737 MAX 8, delivered to Ethiopian Airlines just 3 months before the MCAS system, which pushed the nose further down. The aircraft disappeared from radar screens and crashed at 1,100 km/h speed.
Together, 346 people lost their lives. Investigators revealed serious issues involving MACAS, certification processes, and safety Oversight. The 737 MAX was grounded worldwide for nearly 2 years. The financial impact was enormous. Boeing lost billions of dollars. Its reputation suffered. It was just like a drop. The executives faced investigations. Airlines lost confidence. And most importantly, public trust was damaged. A company once known for engineering leadership now faces questions about its safety culture. But here's what makes Boeing's story more important. The problem wasn't a single software system. The problem was a culture that slowly shifted priorities. So when companies are successful for a long time, they often face a temptation. That is to optimize for profits today instead of resilience tomorrow. In Boeing's case, the same happened. Speed and the cost became more important. And in aviation, a small decision can have a massive consequences. So now let's put all this into a simple, super economics term. Imagine if you're building a bridge and you have only two options. You can either spend more time checking in every detail or you can finish faster and save money. Obviously, most of the time we choose the shortcuts because that looks polished, it looks good, helps to achieve our goals soon, and also in the business term it's profitable. So until something goes wrong, it's an issue. So Boeing's challenge was that the cost of failure wasn't measured in dollars alone. It was measured in trust. And the trust is much harder to rebuild than the profits. The one lesson to be learned from the Boeing company is that the great companies are built by expertise. But they can be damaged when financial goals start replacing the principles that made them great. Boeing's story reminds us that in some industries, safety isn't a cost. It's the product. So that was Boeing. Profits over engineering. This is one company and one story where we break down businesses through one defining decision that shaped their success or a failure. This is Shruti signing off. See you in the next episode. Until then, stay updated. Bye-bye.